Welcome, Jon Byrne, to the Larpar Show, where we talk about what is money, what is coming, and how to protect your family. So, Jon is the founder of BitTasker, which empowers ordinary people to earn, trade, and thrive without borders, banks, or barriers. They've created an amazing platform where skills become currency and Bitcoin becomes the bridge between sovereign individuals. We personally met over 18 months ago through, I think it was X, and we've always kept in touch. And at that time, he was based in Australia, but has currently moved on to El Salvador. So, Jon, how did you find Bitcoin and how has it changed your life?
Well, thank you. Thanks for the invite to the show. It's great that we finally made it here. I saw you on a podcast with Charlie Stevens, the natural investor, somewhere. I think that was the first time I came across you. And yeah, I think I reached out to you on X or something. And it's great that the journey's continued for both of us, and we're here now doing this. So thanks for the invite, I appreciate it a lot. Vic, I mean, how did I find Bitcoin? That's a great question, and how did it change my life? That's a long story as well, but we'll try and keep it brief. But look, my background, I worked in international trade for a long time, 6 7 years, based in Hong Kong. So I have a lot of experience moving money around the world. Doing buying something in one country in one currency and moving it to another country in another currency and moving through the banks and really getting first-hand experience of how dumb and slow and old and outdated and shit the fiat monetary system is. So while I was in that, I kind of heard about Bitcoin here and there, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. This is probably back in 2016 or something like that. So like I wish I paid more attention, but I finally took the plunge like in 2019. 2019 is when I started buying Bitcoin, when I started understanding it. It was mainly due to my brother, actually. He's a developer and he started building some tech in the space, and he just wouldn't leave me alone. He just said, listen, you need to get your head out of your ass and understand what this is. And I like most people, I got some Bitcoin and then obviously because I was working as I suppose commodity trader, I fancied myself as a crypto trader. So I gave that a whirl, made all the stupid mistakes and got involved in some of the other stupid coins and lost a whole pile of money. And then like while I'd lost so much money, I said, Jesus, I better actually do more research and really understand what this is. And I kind of had the aptitude to pick up on it quite quickly from background and payments and stuff. And then when the penny dropped, I went, Jesus, I have to get as much of this stuff as I can. And that's so I kind of went all in probably around 2020, and that's been totally life changing for me. We've had some good returns, and it's shifted my mind in many ways, in many positive ways. And then like as I started, you know, uh, going deeper down the rabbit hole, like as Bitcoin takes you into all sorts of everything, I started to realize I said I have to be part of this, the continuous growth and deployment and development of Bitcoin in the world. And I started hearing about El Salvador around 2022. I started seeing what was going on there, watching the guys on X, Max Kaiser and Sovereign Mindset and those type of guys. And I said, shit, I have to get there one day. And 1 year ago, I sold up everything in Australia with my wife. We came here in a one-way ticket, and now I live here, having a great time. And we started a company here called BitTasker, which we launched about 2 months ago here.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, that's there's not many people that you meet out there that like maybe after 1 year, have well after say 2 years of really going into Bitcoin that they've really decided, right, I've had enough of living in this country with all the nonsense that's going on, Maybe we need to start a new life. And as people get older, they don't tend to do that really, do they? They get settled, we're a little bit older than most people kind of in Bitcoin. A lot of people coming up behind us are a lot younger, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm in my 50s now, so like, I mean, I have a background of living around the world. I mean, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, you know. So, you know, part of my life, I grew up in the apartheid period in South Africa in the 80s and the 90s when we first left Ireland. But I returned to Ireland after South Africa. So I've done about 20 years in Ireland in total, you know. So most of my life is out of Ireland now. But so for me, like when you know, when we left Ireland in the 80s as a child, you know, Ireland was very second world, almost third world country, you know, and it was very closed-minded, and you know, everything was like a closed bubble, you know. So then we moved over to Africa, and as a young child, your mind had to open really fast, you know, to adapt because you're in another world now. So I that became easy for me, and you know, then obviously I went back to Ireland in my 20s, and it was challenging, like moving back because I changed a lot, not growing up in Ireland, you know, uh, and I learned how to adapt fast, and then the same again when I went to Australia, you know, I had to learn how to adapt fast as well, and then when I started working in international trade, I started traveling all around the world, so you know, I was based in Hong Kong. I was doing a lot of business in China and Southeast Asia and India. So like for me personally, the world's just one small place now. You know, like when I look up, I see the sky. When I look down, I see the earth. When I look out, I see the sea. So countries are just names that people call them. So, but most people haven't lived that life. They've been living in the same place most of their life, and they're very comfortable, and their family's there. And even though they know that the world's falling to shit around them, they'd rather stay in what they know, and have the delusion of controlling your chaos, which is closing in like rapidly on the world. And Australia probably after China and North Korea is probably the third most obedient people on the earth. So like, you know, all of the shit that we saw during COVID, and you know what we're seeing, the continuous growth of governments now, and you know moving into the digital era, and surveillance and digital money over there. Like Australia is very far down the road. And like when I was there, I was actually forced to get a digital ID. Otherwise, it'd be locked out of my bank account, you know, and things like that. So that was probably a driver, you know, to get me out of there because it was really awful, to be honest. You know, like I had 15 really, really, really good years. It was amazing, beautiful country, clean beaches, great food, great weather. But the last 5 years, it was like if you want to see what happens with the continuous expansion of government, just go to Australia and you'll see what it's like, and it's just unbearable, to be honest. So when there's a chance to get out of there, like honestly, Lara, when I left the departures at Brisbane Airport, I fucking ran to the plane. I ran to the plane. I said, "Let's go back there ever again." So yeah, not
Yeah,
not the normal story, you know, not the normal story. That's my story.
yeah. And then I probably know the reason why you went to El Salvador. Well, some of the reasons, yeah, because we were actually in contact then, and you sending me pictures,
Yeah,
and you told me that
yeah,
I'm packing up, Lawrence. I'm going. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
the first
yeah,
time I seen you, I probably didn't 100% believe it, but as the weeks went by and you started sending me pictures about you doing your driveway and doing this and everything before the house was put on the market, I says, "Yeah, this guy is serious. He's doing it, you know."
I
And we've
did.
always kept in
Yeah,
touch since then, you know, even since
yeah.
you're down in El Salvador. But what attracted you really to El Salvador? Yeah, because like there is other parts of the world, yeah, that people might move to and people are thinking about moving to, but what attracted you to El
Yeah,
Salvador?
yeah. I mean, there's multiple things, you know, but like obviously you know, there was the Bitcoin law here. The government here has a Bitcoin treasury. You know, they're stacking Bitcoin as much as possible. They have a very big treasury now, and the government here is motivated to deploy Bitcoin into its country because they have no currency here. The currency is the US dollar. There's still a central bank here. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people are surprised to hear that. You know, there's still a central bank here in El Salvador, and the central bank here still falls under the regulation of the global central banking world, the IMF and the Bank of International Settlements, and all the different Basel directives that come out. every couple of years. And recently there's a directive here that forced the country to take a loan, a loan from the IMF, increase their reserves in the central bank, and pull back on the Bitcoin law. So the government here, is highly motivated to make it as easy and as less red tape as possible, and as encouraging as possible for Bitcoiners, not just Bitcoiners, but predominantly Bitcoiners. They're also in the digital asset space now as well. Tokenization, which is not to be confused with cryptocurrency and shitcoins, and artificial intelligence. So the government here, because this country is basically bouncing back from 20, 30 years of just chaos. So the chaos was the civil war, was the gangs, poverty, and like this country is at the rebuilding phase. So like the best time to get involved with anything, or get on board is at the beginning of the rebuild, just like Ireland in the boom, the beginning of the Celtic Tiger. So it's the same here. So there's opportunities galore, right? There's lots of activity in Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin meetups every day almost somewhere in the country. There's 14, 15 separate Bitcoin circular economies here. There's people boots on the ground every day out there, trying to continue the deployment of Bitcoin into the real world, which is encouraged by the government. The government has a Bitcoin office here, right? That's run by Max and Stacey Herbert. So they're like, the official Bitcoin advisors to the government. So they have a lot of programs in place here, like trainings, like young students how to code, on Bitcoin just to get them started. And like that's where we got our developers to build BitTasker.com. They came from the Cubo Plus development program, which is the Bitcoin office, which is Max Kaiser, Stacey Herbert, which is basically President Bukele, which is the government here. So there's nowhere in the world where more people have a Bitcoin. I mean, like yourself, like you go to even Australia or Ireland, wherever you are, like there'll be one in a couple of thousand people will have a Bitcoin wallet. I've even heard of Bitcoin, but everybody here has a Bitcoin wallet. Everybody knows what it is. Doesn't mean everybody uses it, right? But the thing is, the first battle is to get somebody with a wallet with some Bitcoin in it that you can talk to about Bitcoin, and that's what's here, and that's the main reason why I'm here and why I've stayed here and why I'm motivated to keep, to build this company, which we've already deployed and we're still rolling out because there's lots of energy, enthusiasm behind, building out this dream that we have in the world of hyper Bitcoinization and the Bitcoin world. And there's nowhere like it in the world. So that's all the good part. There is some things that aren't great here. It is a developing country that's just come off its knees, right? So it's bordered, like on the same street here, you'll see the first world and you'll see the third world on the same street. So there is issues here, right? They are still rebuilding. There is traffic problems. There is some problems with services and utilities. There is some problems in infrastructure, which is all being addressed and being built out. So it's no paradise here. But where I live on the beach. Like I'm 5-minute walk. There's a nice beach here. I can walk on the beach every day, and there's like a bit of a vibe there, a bit of a tourist vibe. So it has that side as well. It has a very appealing tourist culture as well. So overall, there's pros and cons. But overall, I've never felt better in my life living here. I feel great every day. I just feel great and blessed to be here.
Amazing, amazing. And as well, like people that we know go to El Salvador because of what we know is happening there. And as what Stacey and Max say, there's a renaissance. It's 2.0. I've been following it for a long time. Yeah, I need to get over there myself, as I said. And we're planning this year to come, but I want to come for like a month or 6 weeks. Yeah, to really check out the
Yeah,
place. Uh,
yeah,
so for people that aren't into Bitcoin, yeah,
yeah,
why should people go there that aren't into Bitcoin? Yeah, or that don't really know about Bitcoin? Because people travel around the world. A lot of people are getting this good feeling that something
yeah,
mightn't be right in their own country, in Europe, in the UK. Instead of going to another
yeah,
country, why should they go to El Salvador and start really looking at
yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like firstly, like if you are going to come, if anybody is going to come, and There's also like a small Irish community here as well that's starting to build. And any of the Irish lads here, shouting out to Charlie and to Rob, and to Graham and some other people that are here. Like they're all very active in the Bitcoin space. So get your asses over here. But yeah, do come here for 4 or 5 weeks and try and do it outside. I mean, during the conferences and everything is great because it's a buzz. But if you want to see what it's like when all the conferences are over and everything just kind of goes back to normal, that's probably a good time to come as well to see what it's like living here outside of the conferences. But getting back to the question, like there's many appealing reasons to come here. Like first of all, like this country is I think I just read something yesterday, and I think it says now El Salvador is now the safest country in the Western Hemisphere, right? So think about that for a minute. So countries in the Western Hemisphere, like we're talking the United States, we're talking Canada, it's safer here than the US. And like the country is still under martial law because they're still cleaning up the gangs. Like, I mean, I think they've arrested 70 or 80,000 gang members here. And like there's zero tolerance for, like, if you have a tattoo, you go straight to jail here. Or if you misbehave, and the jails here are kind of like, depending on what vision you have in your mind of a jail, like you don't want to go to jail. You really don't. So people are very well behaved, and you actually see the military a lot, and you're actually happy to see them. You don't feel like it might be a bit odd the first time. I mean, people growing up in Ireland, the troubles of that might, they might have seen a soldier with a machine gun or something, and maybe they've seen it, but like you'll see that here. And the thing is that they're very friendly and they're very welcome. Like I'll give you an example. Like the other day, we're driving up this mountain place called Tammany, and I have a pickup truck, or a ute, as they say in Australia, and these soldiers like pulled me in off the road. There's like 6 of them there, and I'm like, oh shit, what's happening here? I'll just say, hey, how's it going? Can you give me a lift? So they jumped in the back of the pickup and I gave them a lift, and it was like, yeah, it was cool. So they're not like, I mean, I lived in Ireland, I know what the Gardaí are like. Most of them are not very friendly, and most of them are dickheads. And the same in Australia, the cops in the army are not very friendly. So they're part of the community, and people are grateful to see them. So you feel really, really safe here, honestly, and especially like growing up in South Africa and Johannesburg. I know what it's like growing up in a violent country, and what it's like to feel unsafe. So first and foremost, you will feel ultra safe here. Many men are happy for their wives to go out and be out at night, or not worrying about their children, and that means a lot in life. And then they don't have all this cultural wokeism and all this cultural enforcing. They don't have like immigrants running in wrecking the joint. It's still like to be honest, the best thing about El Salvador is actually the Salvadoran people, right? Because and like Irish people can relate to them because they have this resilience, the same as Irish history. We're resilient people because we've been through all sorts of shit. So and they still have that spirit to keep going on and to fight on. So like they're great. They're really, 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 really great people. And then also like the coffee here, man, there's something in the coffee here. Just honestly, because like it's full of volcanoes, and there's coffee everywhere that's grown in this volcanic soil, so the coffee is astonishingly good, right? And then a lot of people come here for health, like Jack Cruz. I saw he's speaking at Bitcoin Ireland, right? So he has a big community here. They're called the mitochondriacs, or the mitos, really nice people, and they live in an area along the beach here called Tami, where I lived when I first came here. And these are people like with health problems that are getting improvements in their health from touching the volcanic soil, they're getting in the ocean, receiving the energy. Like a lot of people call El Salvador like the Kundalini, which is the life force of the human body, of the earth. It was like a chakra of the earth. So there's something very powerful in the natural environment here. And like, if people have been to Africa or something and you stood in the middle of the bush and you felt the Pachamama, Mother Earth, you felt that force. You'll feel that here. So it's a very special place, and as I said, it's not perfect. There's many things that are really fucked up here, but like not that's unfixable, and that's just because it's built. It's just like rebuilding, and and then like on the rebuilding phase, like there's so many opportunities here to deploy something or build something or be part of it. You actually you can't decide which one. There's so many. So I could go on forever, but there's enough. There's enough reasons to be here.
Yeah. And then what about for somebody from a different country, a foreign person coming over to buy a house or buy a bit of land? How does that work over there, John?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like personally, I haven't bought any land or a house here because I prefer to hold my Bitcoin and just get the gains on Bitcoin. So you can rent somewhere really nice here as
Hmm.
well. There's plenty of places to rent. If you want to buy something, there's no problem. I mean, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I can connect you with all the right people. We have a whole network of anything you need here. Absolutely, Anna. We can plug you into all the right people immediately. And that's part of the reason what BitTasker is about as well, about people getting hired in the network and earning reputation in the trust network. So all those people are here. But the great thing here is that there's no like they have in many parts of the world, and I'm not too sure what it is in Ireland, but I know like in parts of Europe, the government can still seize your land, and over here you have true ownership of the land. The government can't touch it, and that's truly your land. So foreigners here can own land outright on their own. They don't have to have like in some parts of the world, you have to have you can only own 49% or something, and you have to have a foreign national. Like it's really like the government here, the country here it's relying on the Salvadorians that left El Salvador, a long time ago during the war and stuff to return, and then for foreigners like us to come here and deploy, bring your Bitcoin, bring your liquidity into Bitcoin, stop out of this huddle thinking, huddle till you die. Let's start, and we're building some clever things in BitTasker as well, BitTasker Finance, where we're going to help people borrow against their Bitcoin so we can start deploying the liquidity into El Salvador and start building the world that we want to see because there's nobody here stopping us and you're being encouraged to do it. And I don't think there's anywhere in the world like that.
Yeah, sounds amazing. All right, sounds amazing. So basically, if somebody came over, they can actually buy land and they can buy property, no problem, like other countries that you have to have
Yeah,
so many. You can only have
yeah.
you have to
You
have
can,
a local person to be on the company or be part of the land or
yeah.
anything like that. Yeah, a lot of people
You
would
can
be
even
looking
you
at
can
that
even
as
buy
well.
you can even buy a ranch. You can even buy like there's something I'm not sure if you're reading about the beef initiative. These guys that
Yeah,
are
I've
that
been
have
seeing
just
them. Yeah.
started it. You've seen them. So a really funny story about them. This relates back to land. Like I met that guy Texas Slim at a Bitcoin meetup in Australia about 3 years ago. And he was very like like he's a cowboy and he's not backwards about coming forwards and So listen up, y'all. What are y'all doing here in Bitcoin? You should be like building the world with it, you know. And he was really like, I went, wow, I love this guy. Like he made the fire in me burn even more. And then funny enough, I meet him here 3 years later, you know. And the beef initiative, what they're doing is they're helping the country with food security because they don't have enough, they don't grow enough of their own food here. So they're growing cows, like growing beef, and they want to make a beef industry here, and they want to help existing ranchers or people that want to buy land. If you want to become a rancher and be part of the decentralized beef network, where you can be a small node in the beef network, where you can also be a processor and then facilitate the peer-to-peer delivery of beef and steaks directly to the users. So they're here to train people, to teach people how to be cowboys, how to build ranches, how to convert your land into a ranch. And there's many people here, like they will sell you the land. And then like, when you go to McDonald's and they go, hey, would you like fries with that? They go, hey, would you like a ranch with that? And that's possible here as well. So it's great.
Amazing, amazing. Very
Yeah.
good, very good. So where do you see now in 2026? Okay. We had a 2025 just closed off. We're in January now of 2026. Some people are
Yeah.
disappointed what happened in 2025. I personally think a lot of things happened, positive things happened in 2025 globally for Bitcoin. Yeah. Where do you see we're going with 2026 this year with what's happening on the ground? First of all, in El Salvador, where you are, and then maybe globally as well.
Well, like, why were people disappointed? Because the price didn't go to
Yeah,
didn't go
some
up.
people were just disappointed because of the price, but there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
happened, with all
Yeah.
different
I mean, I
other.
mean, I mean, you have to ask yourself, like, why do we even get excited when the price goes up? Because it's like, does that mean, okay, so like if Bitcoin goes to $1 million and you have 5 Bitcoin and now you cash in, now you got $5 million, and now you're a non-coiner, so like you spent the last 10 years, fuck the government, freedom, Bitcoin, and now you've got your $5 million and now everybody can just get stuffed, right? So I don't like that. I don't think too much about the price because I personally don't sell Bitcoin. I finance myself in a smart way for very low cost interest. Like I can finance myself against Bitcoin like for 3.5%, 4%, because obviously I have experience with tech and I know how to work with decentralized finance in a safe way. And I don't have to use all these expensive protocols, like without naming any of them, but like all these so-called Bitcoiners that are now like sold out to Wall Street, and now they're offering all these loan services for like 10, 12%, which you don't need to do, right? So for starters, like we should be thinking about drawing down against our Bitcoin, deploying that liquidity into a Bitcoin world or into a Bitcoin business or into a Bitcoin circular economy, right? That earns you Bitcoin, that services Bitcoin, right? That services your finance. So now you have a real world asset in a Bitcoin world while you still maintain ownership of your Bitcoin digital asset that continues to compound over time. So like the CAG, or the compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin, is, I think the official number is 30, 40% or something like that. It's actually compounding higher than that. So like, anybody that's in Bitcoin should be thinking over a period of 4 years and just looking at the average compounding annual growth rate over 4 years. And sometimes the price goes down, right? And there's always generally a year in the cycle where the price goes down. So like personally, I couldn't be bothered because I'm managing my finance, and I know as time goes on I can continue to draw down against that. And I think like if you have Bitcoin, you should be thinking like like a central bank. You should be your own central bank and thinking like a central bank, and how you can utilize Bitcoin to deploy and build a Bitcoin a world that you want to see in the world. So what I see for 2026, right? Like in terms of price, it's highly likely there should be a good bounce this year. People are just watching the price. There's like nothing has changed. The hash rate is continuing to increase. I mean, Donald Trump and his son own a Bitcoin mining farm called American Bitcoin. Governments are continuing to buy it. They're building treasury. They're building treasury companies. Wall Street continue to buy it. There's an acceleration now on the destruction of fiat. So like all the things that we've been waiting to see happen are starting to happen. The price of silver has doubled in the last 12 months, which is the clear sign that people are transferring wealth into another asset. Gold is pumping. Bond yields are skyrocketing, which means the bonds are worth less because people want to dump them. And like the main economic indicator in the world that people should be watching is the Japanese 10-year bond, because there's a really amazing documentary to help me understand Bitcoin and fiat. It's called The Princes of Yen. The Princes of Yen, and maybe you should tag that in here if you could. That explains to you how the Japanese central bank is printing so much of its own currency that they use to buy U.S. Treasury bonds, which is basically the backbone of the fiat world. And it was always a benchmark, like, in the economic world, of the yield being over 1.5%. And that, the call always was, once that yield goes over 1.5%, that's the beginning of the final destruction of fiat. So that's now over, that's at 2%. Right. So I think that we're in the final days, right, of fiat, and we're being transitioned into something new. And what that's something new, it could be a whole host of things, right? So it could be a whole host of things, like if you look at BRICS, the BRICS countries, right, they're broken away now from the US dollar, and they're forming their own economic system, and this, they're experimenting with this unit, which is a digital currency. There's other countries in the world that now have like gold-backed treasuries, and now they're using like programmable digital money or stable coins or CBDCs, right? Whichever you want to call it. It's all programmable digital money. Some countries are moving that way. And then there's some countries like El Salvador and other countries like in Latin America and Central America that are motivated to see a Bitcoin standard and a Bitcoin world. But there's still a long way to go with that. And, the short answer to the question is, for 2026, we're now moving into a multipolar world, right, with various economic systems, from gold, silver, bonds, stable coins, CBDCs, Bitcoin worlds, or whatever. So this is it. This is the time now. Like, if of us, the millions of Bitcoiners around the world, we want to see a Bitcoin world, it's up to us to build it. Because, if you're expecting the governments to come and do that for you, they're doing all they can, right, by getting, having in the treasury or making it easier for you to use it. But you have to remember that they're still part of the fiat world. There's still a central bank there, right? There's still corporations and institutions that they have to answer to. So, like, I personally see the continuous growth and deployment of Bitcoin in the real world, and a rapid acceleration of that, mainly in Latin America and South America, as opposed to the rest and Africa. And Africa as well, because these guys really want it. They've been oppressed for so long, and they're going, well, when do we get to rise up? When can we have equality in the world? So I see massive things. This is a huge year, man. This is really, really, really a huge year. So I'll stop there because I could go on forever about it. So.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You can walk
Yeah.
away. It's easy. You can keep on talking if you want.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, regarding the changes that are coming, we touched on a little bit about CBDCs and stable coins. Yeah. Do you think though, in South America, not El Salvador per se, but in South America, maybe African countries, can you see more USDT being pushed out initially first into these countries, and then maybe people will do their homework then and realize, oh, maybe there's this thing here called Bitcoin. Maybe we should use USDT
Yeah.
like the way we use fiat at the moment, and we use for fiat for our goods and services. And for
Yeah.
me, I use Bitcoin and as a savings technology to protect myself from what is coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a controversial topic, USDT. I mean, USDT is just one of multiple stable coins. Like, there's now a race to be the biggest one. I mean, Trump's in the race now as well. He's got his own platform, got his own decentralized fund, he's got his own currency called USD1, which is exactly the same. The plumbing is exactly the same as USDT. It's backed by treasury bills, treasury bonds, right? So that's what's the treasury of these digital currencies. So there is many countries already. I mean, like if you go to Lugano, so I think you went to Plan B, right, in Switzerland.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
So I'm not
a few
sure.
months ago.
So you probably recognize USDT at the point of sale there, and that is available, in BitTasker. right? We're quite prepared to wear the criticism for it. We are going to have USDT as well, right? And I think USDT is an important tool to help people onboard into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin still is at the infancy of it being like in terms of the mathematics and the plumbing, is the hardest, best money in the world. But for using it on a day-to-day basis, it has some challenges, right? And it has some challenges because the market cap needs to grow more, right? More liquidity has to deploy into it, so the volatility can stabilize to make it more attractive for larger businesses to be used. Like it's really good right now for micro economies and small private economies. But like that's what we're trying to do with BitTasker, is try to any merchant that's taking it, let's try and find all the suppliers in that chain and then get them doing business with each other through the BitTasker app. But we're also including USDT. And the main reason is that sometimes it's actually easier to get somebody into USDT than it is into Bitcoin, because they understand the dollar one for one, and it's stable, as the name says, stable coin, and then have an easy way for them to convert into Bitcoin on the same app. And then there's also a lot of Bitcoiners don't like spending their Bitcoin. They just don't, right? They just said, I'm not spending it. I don't want to spend it. Like we're too early for spending it. So you need to be able to give people the choice, right? To be able to use both and not just have all your eggs just solely in the Bitcoin basket, because you're just limiting yourself to a niche market. And if that's all we want to do, that's fine. But if we all want to see this Bitcoin world, we have to start thinking about the circular economy 2.0. Like we have Renaissance 2.0, like Stacey Herbert says, and like we like to say now, we're part of building the circular economy 2.0, and we see USDT as a part of it. However, there's the potential to, at the end of the day, it's programmable digital money, right? And we can't forget that. And we have to make sure that we succeed on the mission of deployment of Bitcoin in the real world. Otherwise, it can very easily become a programmable digital currency, and we don't even want to think about a world like that. If you think about it, because they already have this in parts of the world, and that's like the communist dream, is a programmable world, and we have to make sure that never happens.
It looks like it's Brussels' dream as well, the way they're going on. Brussels,
of course it is. Of course it is.
We're
Because
all there.
remember, with the ECB, right?
Yeah, with the ECB, yeah. And the people are trying to control the EU and the Eurozone and everything. You know, what I can
Well, I
see,
mean,
and people might say people might say you're OTT over that, but I can see what's going on behind the scenes, coming in behind the scene. And to me, it feels like communism coming in behind the scenes. Yeah. Gradually, gradually,
well,
gradually, little bit, until they lock it all down. And then, too late. You're trapped now.
correct, correct. So, you like for people to really absorb what you just said there, they need to actually understand fiat, right? And they need to understand how it began, and when did it begin, and where did the money come from, and how is it being controlled, and how is it being regulated. And what you'll find, it is the communists. So the ECB, like Europe's finished, Ireland's finished, right? It's the corporates own Ireland, So as much as I'm an Irish person, like I love Ireland, and I'd go back and die for Ireland in a heartbeat. But I'm realistic; it's over, and there's no return to the sovereign state ever again, unless we roll into Bitcoin. And like in Ireland, people are in there and they're living in the past glory and the songs, and we all feel that, we all love it. I love singing them too. But at the end of the day, we sold out. The politicians have sold us out to the corporates. And Europe is just a corporate world. You have to, like, if you can remove the hope and the thought that this is a sovereign world and a sovereign country, because it's not. It's not. So it's very disturbing for people to have to accept that, and sometimes people might feel like you're blaming them for that. And you know, who's to blame? That's another story. But like, we the people are to blame because we accepted it. We voted them in. We never stood up, but we never had Bitcoin. It takes time for people. It takes thousands of hours for people to get their head around Bitcoin. If you look at in the world how much liquidity is in Bitcoin now. I think the market caps are roughly around $2 trillion,
Yeah,
something
about
like
two
that.
trillion, yeah.
And
Around that, yeah.
2 trillions. So like as a percentage of global liquidity or all the money in the world, let's say, and that, the last time I looked at that, it was just approaching 1,000 trillion, 1,000 trillion,
Yeah.
which is a quadrillion. So like as a percentage, Bitcoin's only captured less than, I think it's 0.2% or something. We're still so early, man. But we have to hurry up now, okay? Because what you're seeing, like that's closing in rapidly, and a lot of people are going to defend that as well because as Morpheus says in the blue pill, red pill scene, he says people are hopelessly dependent on this system because they're waiting for their strategy in life was to survive it and get to the pension and live off the pension. So like us coming along, it's quite frightening for them because ultimately we want to end it, and they don't. So they'll happily accept programmable digital money as long as they get their payment. There's your money for bread, there's your money for milk, there's your money for whatever. But that's the end of freedom, and that can't happen. And I don't think we're going to stop that in Europe. Absolutely not. No chance.
Yeah, well, it's on the it's on the rails, as they say, and it's that's what they have planned. So unless people learn about what we know about, yeah, how to protect themselves, they're gonna just fall into that, whether they like it or
Yeah, I mean,
not.
I mean,
Whether they like it or not.
correct. They will. They will, and you won't stop that. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop that because they who we're talking about. I mean, Davos is on now, right? So the them, the globalists, right, the communists, they announce it to you. I mean, they go, "Hi everybody, here we are on the stage. Look at us, woohoo, aren't we great?" Now, by the way, this is what we're going to do to you in the next 5 years, and we're going to tell you, and they tell you, and they present it to you, and you can go to their website and you can read the documentation, right? And you can't stop it, and they know, like, they know that most people won't bother to go, and like the same way as, I mean, like when you first discovered what fiat was, did you feel kind of like maybe a little dumb when you first discovered, you
I said,
know?
what was I have to do? And how the hell did I miss this? How did I miss
Yeah,
this? Because it was around me for
yeah,
all my life, literally. My friend's brother
yeah.
was buying Bitcoin at $30 beside us on the kitchen table. You know what I mean? And he was saying to me,
Oh,
the older
wow.
ones, he says, give us a grand, Lar. I'll buy you a bit of Bitcoin. And I'm saying, I don't want any of that. And we had money at that stage when we were younger. Yeah. I could have thrown him a couple of grand, no problem. Didn't
Wow,
do my work though.
wow.
I even missed it at
Yeah,
at the beginning of 2020 when my brother was telling me to buy it at
yeah,
5.5 grand. When it dropped down, I says,
yeah,
I'm not buying that. I'm gonna buy one of
yeah,
these altcoins or something for $1. I didn't know about the Satoshi, the difference. I'm
yeah,
buying a fraction of a
yeah,
Bitcoin. But I paid the
yeah.
price and I deserved it. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
copped on after a while.
But do you consider yourself as like at least average intelligence, or maybe a little bit more than average intelligence? You know, so that's up to you. But I think you're way more than average intelligence. But we have to remember, like, that there's levels of intelligence. And like
And I
a
think as
lot of
well, there's levels
people.
of vibrations as well. People are vibrating at a different level as well. And I think
Correct,
now from a lot of
correct.
people that I used to be around, they don't see what I can see. Or maybe they don't want to
Yeah,
see. And like there's different, because I was doing a bit of research in it. There's like the 3D level, three dimension, fourth dimension, and the fifth dimension. People are at different
yeah,
things. And a lot of people are still stuck in the third dimension, whereas we've moved on. Yeah. And we're vibrating at in a different level. I'm into grounding. We ground my partners into it as well. We connect to the
yeah,
earth. We're centralized. Stand. I'm not left. I'm not right. I'm not. It's all nonsense to me. Yeah, I mean they're just arguing about against themselves. Take control. Be a man or be a woman and take control of your life and protect your family rather than trying to wait for a policymaker to come along and change it and try and help you. It's all over. I'm not
love
interested
it,
in that anymore. I'm just doing it
love
for
it.
us now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Now
know we
you're
can't
now you're
change the
really,
system per se.
yeah, yeah. You can't, you can't. I love what you're saying. I'm glad I didn't know that about you. It's
Yeah, no, no,
awesome to
we're
hear
really
that
into
because
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm 25 years practicing yoga and meditation, and we actually have another project here in Bitcoin called Solaris Healthcare, which is about helping people align and ground and get well and connect to the highest being that you can be within yourself, without calling it anything and being controversial. So like because most this vibration that you're talking about is the fear vibration, false evidence appearing real. And it's people tuning in every day looking for the answer on the news or the radio, and they think that one day the answer is going to be there, but the answer just is, hey, here's the reminder that everything's fucked, right? And if you've forgotten that it's fucked, come back at 2 o'clock and we'll remind you. So that's what they're doing all day long. And you know yourself, you don't watch that, you don't subscribe to it, you subscribe to truth, right? The truth frequency. And then when the truth, then things become knowing as opposed to like believing. So you're dealing with people in believing that are being psyoped into thinking a certain way and feeling a certain way. And then when you exit that, it's very hard, even if you look at it under a microscope, for those frequencies to communicate. And that's why we feel the push away from that. And that's what you'll hear from everybody here in El Salvador. Everybody's felt that's here. We all have these stories of how challenging that's been challenging for all of us, with our families and our friends and people that have been very close to us, and it's torn people apart. And that's the sad part of this story. But like for me, it just gives me more determination and more commitment and more energy. And so would the other people that live here. Like we didn't come all this way to fuck around. You know?
Yeah.
We came here to do something, to push back against this uneven frequency of dark energy. Because like unless you're living under a rock, like this dark energy is closing in on us now, and it's pushing really hard, and people are going darker. And especially as we're moving into this transhuman era, right? The globalists, or the dark occultists, as I call them, they want to get this technology into people's heads, and that's happening rapidly. And when they do that, that's you're gone. You're switched off. I'm at consensus that we don't stop it, Larry, that we can't stop it, right? This machine is just bigger than us, but all that we can do is maintain the sovereign world, and maintain the connection to the earth and the connection to each other and our families and our food and our nutrition, and we can ride it out till another era comes, and how long that is, who knows? I don't think it'll be in my lifetime. I'm already very relaxed about it, because I feel good that we're doing something about it, as opposed to running away from being scared of. And that's what you'll feel here in El Salvador. And you don't have this fear, this fear state. You don't have it here. It's not around. And all that you meet is relentlessly optimistic people here that want to deploy, and we have a saying here in El Salvador: must deploy. Right? If you come here, you must deploy. And there's a lot of that happening here. And like I would just say to yourself or anybody listening, just forget about it. It's over. I don't know what you're fighting for, right? Because it's lost. And you should just get out of there and come here and be part of this movement, or somewhere else in the world. And then you'll see what it's like to actually get up every day and not be worrying about all this stuff. Can you imagine? You know, you go,
Amazing.
fuck, I'm going to get up every day and build a world I
But
want to
but
build. I'm
that's
not
the
having
whole
to
thing.
convince anybody or wait people. Yeah,
This whole Bitcoin knowledge that you gain, it truly, truly changes your life. And like anybody that I've met really now, and I help people and I teach a little bit about Bitcoin. You have students, yeah. They're all
yeah.
just learning and learning and learning, and it's changing everybody's life that start learning about this. Yeah. And then
Why? Why does it change your life, though? What does it do?
it gives you hope for the future. And then you realize when you go deeper into Bitcoin is the insurance for the future. Yeah. Because they're going to
Yeah,
do a lot of
yeah,
crazy things sooner rather than later, I can see.
yeah,
Yeah. And then if you
yeah,
haven't got the knowledge about this Bitcoin, how to protect yourself, because it's a protection. You can wrap yourself,
yeah,
your family, your business with
yeah,
Bitcoin. It's like a blanket you can put around you.
yeah. Correct. Beautiful. Beautiful. Like what you find here, a lot of people will say, so like I quite often challenge people and say, that's why I asked you how you felt about finding out about fiat. So I challenge you, I challenge anybody, write down 10 things that you think you know. Write them down and then go away and verify it, like Bitcoin Estate. Don't trust, verify. And a lot of people here did that because they went, wow, well, because fiat is ultimately like it's the most disgusting, insulting, evil
It's
thing you could do.
poison. It's poisoning
It's
everything.
poison. It's
That's what it's
poison.
doing.
You you couldn't think of anything more insulting to ask people to go out and earn this thing, push them harder, squeeze them harder, and give them something that they earn that lowers in value every year. It's disgusting, you know. So you have to go, okay, well, how did we miss this? Okay, we missed it. Okay, you go, well, what else did we miss? Right? And then if you write down the 10 things and you go away and your mind might blow open even more, you know. And a lot of people here are like that because they've opened up the mind in all different things, you know, even like spirituality or grounding or yoga or whatever. There's other levels here, and there's people operating in all sorts of dimensions and frequencies here that continue to open up further, you know. And a lot of it comes from letting go of the isms or the things that you think you know, because there's a lot of them holding people back as well. Even Bitcoiners, you know, you can't bring your isms into here. You can't bring your fiat mind into here. You have to come with a clear mind and try and let go of all these things that you think you know, and then be prepared to be challenged, right? Right, the same way you can challenge someone, you know, that they want to. I mean, who the hell is going to debate Lawrence, you know, about Bitcoin? That's a non-coiner. I mean, they're going to lose hopelessly, you know. But it's the same as multiple things here, right? There's like Jack Cruz is a great one, decentralized health and food, and you know, there's all sorts of things happening here, challenging you to rebuild yourself as the ultimate warrior, you know, because to survive the way the world's heading, that we're not going to stop. You got to be in good condition, and you better have some fucking Bitcoin, otherwise you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's a fact anyway. I can see that plain as day.
Yeah,
So, John,
yeah,
tell me a little bit about, okay? We've talked about a lot of things here, okay? Tell me a
yeah.
little bit about BitTasker itself, yeah? And what you're doing with BitTasker, what you're really building there, yeah, with
Okay,
BitTasker and how it works and everything, okay?
okay, yeah, yeah, cool. So for starters, like BitTasker is built on something called the Nostr protocol, right? That will go over a lot of people's heads. Some people will, some people won't. Nostr, a lot of people think Nostr is just Bitcoin social media. But what Nostr actually is, the actual protocol, the actual relays, the actual servers and technology is exactly the same as Bitcoin cryptography, Bitcoin technology. So why do we trust Bitcoin? Right? We trust it because it's cryptography. So what's cryptography? There's an input and an output. The SHA-256 algorithm that you know you put in your name and out comes a private key, right? So that private key is the key that you own, that you turn on the network, that gives you access to the network that you're the owner of. So the Nostr protocol is exactly the same technology that's totally interoperable with Bitcoin, right? It's not just the social media. I think right. So it's not just the social media, and like when Nostr first came out, people just thought that Nostr was a social media. But what happened first was a lot of people just started building social media apps on Nostr. Like they mentioned a few, Damas and Iris and Snort and Primal, etc. So a lot of people thought that Nostr was just social media, but it's not. The first things to come out were apps built on the Nostr protocol. So the same way, so first and foremost, BitTasker is an app. It's a web app that works just like a normal app that you can download from the Zap Store, right, or the App Store. It works just like a normal app, but it's actually built on the Nostr protocol. That means we have a secure network. Now, why do we want a secure network? The same reason we want Bitcoin. The same reason why the likes of Apple and Google Play, like they announced some restrictions last year. They said unless you're regulated by approved regulators, your apps must be removed from the store. Okay, so that means if we want to build out a Bitcoin world, we can't be using this shit. We have to stop using this shit. So that's why we built it on Nostr. So that's really, really important because you're in control of your ID as well on a secure network. And BitTasker is where you earn Bitcoin for doing tasks peer-to-peer on a secure network where you can earn trust and reputation amongst other Bitcoiners or key holders. So what sort of tasks can you do? You can do anything from a micro task to come to my house and cut the grass, come to my house, clean the windows, come to my house, unblock the toilet, or help me build a website, help me build an app, service my car, rent me your caravan, rent me your car, your motorbike, install some ceiling fans, fly me somewhere in your private jet. It's anywhere. It's anything. It's peer to peer from micro to macro, all the way, even if you want to, because I'm background in international trade, and I built it with this in mind. Because what actually happens is the non-custodial. I must stress we're non-custodial. Okay, open source, decentralized and secure wallet, which means we never touch your funds. We can't touch your funds. It's not possible. That can be verified in our code, which is open source. We're just providing the platform for A to deal with B. So we call them taskers and taskies. The tasker wants to get shit done. The taskie will get the shit done, right? And then what happens is we actually create a contract on the protocol. We create a contract. We're using a version, one of the layer twos, because unfortunately, Bitcoin on chain is a bit slow, right? And there's fees to make these peer-to-peer transactions work in the real world. We can use on chain, right? But it's not really practical. So unfortunately, we live in a world of layer twos. So the best layer twos.
That's not a bad thing. But that's not a bad thing either. You know what I mean? We have to stress that, because with the main chain,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It keeps a lot of junk and rubbish off the main chain, really, doesn't it? And we use
it's not
layer
a bad
2
thing.
or layer 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's not like it depends on which layer two you're using. And look, at the end, like I just said that because like the purest form is Bitcoin on chain. Everything else has some compromises, you know. So we've decided, like, you know, with BitTasker, you can on ramp, because we got something in the back end called the bolts exchange. Some people know this, some people don't. Bolts exchange is where you can swap, you get an atomic swap between any of the layer twos. So you can swap from Lightning into Liquid, or Liquid into Rootstock, or Rootstock into on-chain. It's a good place to go. And, you know, if you want KYC free Bitcoin, right, go on to Bolts Exchange, get an atomic swap into Lightning, and then swap it back to Bitcoin. It'll now be KYC free. So that's like another really good use case for Bolts. And shout out to Bolts Exchange, and shout out to Rootstock, because Rootstock Bitcoin is the oldest layer two. Not many people know it, but over in South America, everybody knows it, right? And it was built in Argentina, and Argentina is one of the, you know, countries that have the most defaults from the IMF in history, and everybody there knows about inflation and be driven into poverty, and they're very motivated to build out a Bitcoin world. So they built out a layer two called Rootstock Bitcoin. And in short, without getting too technical about it, you can ask me questions later if you want. It's basically secured by the proof of work Bitcoin miners. That's it. The consensus on the chain is secured by the proof of work miners. No other layer two offers that. So that's why we decided to use Rootstock, right? Rootstock chain for our smart contract. And then in our smart contract, that will tie up the funds between the tasker and the taskee, right? And then they will interact. And then when they're both happy, they'll both like sign the contract, and the funds will be released. So what that does is it gives us a tool, right, in the real world, in the business world, inside circular economies, to encourage people to start doing business with each other, where they can earn Bitcoin on a secure network, right, where they earn reputation. And I stress reputational trust on a trusted network, because when you have that and you're in control of that key is your passport. And that's your passport in a Bitcoin world, right? Anywhere in the world where your reputation can get you hired, employed, or contracted, anywhere in the Bitcoin world. So in short, that's what it is, if that makes sense.
Sounds great. Sounds great. All right. And how do people where do they go to download it, to try it out?
Yeah, you just go to bittasker.com. And then also the Zap store. We just released the app 2 weeks ago. So you'll find that in the Zap, Z-A-P, the Zap store. We will be releasing it in the Play Store in the next couple of weeks, and then we will release it in the App Store further on. But it's available now. You can just use it through the website. You don't have to download the app. You can open it on your phone, or you can download it as a web app on your phone. If you don't know about Nostr, or it's a little bit overwhelming, you just go through the onboarding process and just go sign up, and it'll just be like signing up to any regular app. And then in the end, we will actually create that Nostr key for you, right? And will help you save it on the passkey on your device, or if you have your own sovereign passkey like a Bitwarden or a YubiKey or something like that for the ultra sovereign warriors like the Linux users, which is me as well, right? You can use all these tools, but it works on any standard device, right? It's very easy to onboard. We help you save your private key, and then that private key will give you access to any Nostr app, right? Any Nostr app on the Nostr protocol, that key it gets you through the door. So there's some great apps coming out on Nostr now. I was looking at one today called A to B, where you can book courier services, right? Through Nostr, right? There's one called Runster. Everything is Nostr, Runster, Funster, Zapster, So that's kind of the jam.
Tasker,
And there's like
Tasker.
Tasker, BitTasker, right? BitTasker. There's also like what's it called? A Tunester, right? So like with music, and what you'll find now is that builders, this is the next stage, right? This is the next stage. Once we get past, we've all been through the FUD and the governments are going to ban it, and right? That's all history now, right? So now we're like, okay, what the fuck are we going to do with this? We're just going to huddle till we die? Well, I don't think that's a great idea, but you can do that if you want. There's nothing wrong with that, But it's like let's use the liquidity and deploy it into the world and build a Bitcoin world. So that's what builders are doing now. Like in El Salvador, they have meetups here with Nostr builders, right? We're like BitTasker, we're actually training the Cuba Plus students. I said earlier that they're the dev school of the Bitcoin office, which is the Salvadoran government. And we hired some of them. We taught them how to build like this way. And now we are in there training them, blessed by the government, how to build sovereign technology with Bitcoin. Isn't that the dream?
Beautiful, isn't it?
Isn't that
Beautiful.
That's the
Yeah.
dream. So
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. We're living the dream, brother. We're living the dream.
Amazing. Amazing. Good stuff. Well, you're doing some really interesting things over there, and looks like El Salvador is a place to go and visit anyway for people. Get over there, go on a
Yes.
holiday. As John says, go over there for at least a month, 6 weeks, take a bit of time off.
As a Bitcoiner, it's your duty. It's a pill. It's like holy people going
Yeah.
to Lourdes,
Yeah.
It's your duty to come here.
And even
That's
if
a
you're not a
trip.
Bitcoiner, if you're looking for somewhere, because somebody else might catch this,
Yeah,
because a lot of people now
exactly.
are realizing that there's something is wrong. Yeah. And maybe they need a plan B. We figured out the plan B a
Correct.
few years ago, and this is the
Yeah,
plan B. If you want to
that's
kind
right.
of protect yourself or whatever, just start looking at
It
Nostr,
begins with Bitcoin,
Bitcoin,
brother.
El Salvador, you know. That's what
Absolutely.
it's all about. So,
Absolutely.
John, just to wrap it up, how can people get in contact with you if they're looking to
Okay,
get in
so
contact with you? Your
so
social
same again.
links.
So if you go to bittasker.com and you scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll also find a link to download our app in this app store. You'll find we're not active on all socials, but we just have our name there. But like we're mainly active on Nostr socials. So any Nostr social media, I recommend Primal, right? So if you're not using Primal, go download the Primal app. It works really well. Or Damos or Amethyst, any of those. So you'll find us there. We're very active on there, right? We earn zaps from Stacy Herbert on that network. Like there's not many Bitcoiners getting zaps from Stacy Herbert. So we do, right? But we're also on X. Okay, so we got like we don't support X, so we don't stand behind the ethos of X. But like we're there. We're like our long-term goal is to get everybody into Nostr. So we don't need any of this shit, but we have to go and get everybody off it. So we're in there making a lot of noise right now. And that's probably the best place to find us. Like we do have a Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and that, but we're not very active there. We don't plan to be, but we do, but we are there. So
Okay, very nice. Right. Thanks for joining us, and maybe we'll do round two towards the end of the year. Yeah. And it was amazing. And hopefully I get to meet you live in real life, as we say in IRL, in real life.
I can in real life. I can't wait for that, Lara. Honestly, I mean, thank you for all that you do. You know, like I'm inspired by other Bitcoiners. I'm inspired by you and anybody else that's putting in the energy and the effort. All of us are doing this, inspiring each other. So keep up the great work. And thanks for having me here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.